Most people look at Paris and see a postcard, the glittering Eiffel Tower, the smell of fresh croissants, the city of light. But they forget one thing: light is only born after a total, suffocating darkness. Tonight, my students, I'm taking you behind the curtain. Long before the boulevards and the cafes, Paris was nothing more than a mud-soaked island surrounded by fear. A place that had to burn itself alive just to stay free. Over 2,000 years, this city has died 5 times. It has been drowned in blood, choked by plague, and abandoned by its own kings. And yet, it rises every single time. Tonight, you aren't just watching history. You are going to walk through the flames with me. Are you ready? Good, because the first death was the most beautiful of all. Let us begin where the heartbeat of Paris first faltered, in the fire. It is 52 BC. Close your eyes and smell it. The air is thick, oily, so dense with smoke you could cut it with a Celtic blade. On a small island in the Seine, the wooden homes of the Parisii are disappearing into towering walls of orange flame. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a tragedy. It was a choice. The Parisii, proud river masters, torched their own city. They watched their memories turn to ash, rather than let Julius Caesar set foot in a standing home. Imagine that level of defiance, choosing total destruction over a golden cage. But Caesar was a machine. When the ashes cooled, the Romans didn't just rebuild, they conquered the landscape. They moved to the left bank and sliced through the marshland with roads as straight as a spear. They built bath complexes that steamed with Roman ambition. They built an amphitheater where the screams of gladiators echoed against stone walls. They called it Lutetia. And here is the truth the Romans understood. Architecture is propaganda. Every column was a reminder. You belong to Rome now. But even the greatest walls have cracks. By the 3rd century, the Germanic tribes were screaming at the gates. The proud Roman sprawl contracted, pulling back to the island like a wounded animal. The city drew a sharp, cold breath, waiting for the blow that would change everything. 451 AD. A name begins to echo through the streets like a death knell. Attila. The Huns are coming. A tidal wave of horse and steel, leaving nothing but scorched earth behind them. In Paris, the panic is a physical thing. People are packing their lives into rowboats, ready to abandon the city forever. And then, a young woman steps into the center of the chaos. Geneviève. She has no sword, no crown, just a voice that refused to tremble. She told them, "Do not run. Pray, stand your ground." And then the impossible happened. Attila, the scourge of God, simply turned away. He bypassed the city. Why? Military strategy? A miracle? Or something history is too afraid to record? Whatever the truth, Geneviève became the city's spiritual shield. But peace is a ghost in Paris. A few centuries later, a new sound appears on the river, the rhythmic thud, thud, thud of oars. The Vikings. These weren't the raiders of your storybooks, they were professionals. In 845, they didn't just attack, they held the city for ransom. 7,000 pounds of silver. Imagine the weight of that metal. It was enough to break an economy, enough to remind every Parisian that survival always has a price. And the Vikings? They realized that Paris was a vault, and they intended to keep the key. The year is 885. The Seine is no longer water. It is a graveyard of broken timber, burning oil, and bodies drifting like lost messages. The Vikings are back, and this time, they aren't leaving. For months, the city is a prison. Imagine standing on the bridge, the wind whipping off the water, hearing nothing but the creak of frozen wood and the distant, hungry cries of the Northmen. Every sunrise was a gamble. Will we eat today? Will we die today? But through the frost and the fear, Paris learned a lesson it never forgot. Control the river and you control the world. Centuries passed. The city grew fat and ambitious. In 1163, they began a project so insane, so daring, that the men who laid the first stones knew they would be dead long before the last one was placed. Notre Dame. They built flying buttresses like stone wings to hold up the sky. They poured colored light through glass to prove that God lived in Paris. It was a proclamation of power, but while the priests sang in the cathedral, a different kind of power was brewing in the dark corners of the left bank. A power that didn't need a crown, it needed a book. Welcome to the 13th century. Walk with me into a cramped, windowless room in the Latin Quarter. The air is heavy with the smell of old parchment and unwashed bodies. Students are arguing in Latin, the universal tongue of the elite. Here, knowledge was becoming as dangerous as any sword. Philip II was so nervous about the volatility of his own people that he turned the Louvre into a grim fortress, not to protect the city, but to keep an eye on it. By 1300, Paris was the titan of Europe. 200,000 souls, but the higher you climb, the harder the fall. First came the famine, then the 100 Years' War, and then the year that broke the world, 1348, the Black Death. Imagine a city where the bells never stop tolling. Streets so empty you can hear a rat's heartbeat. Carts carrying bodies to mass graves so vast they had no names. 1 out of every 2 people you knew was dead within weeks. Social order collapsed. The English seized the gates. Even Joan of Arc, with all her fire and divine fury, was wounded before these walls and turned away. It seemed the story of Paris was finally over. The city was a tomb, but it was just waiting for its most violent transformation yet. The 16th century. The Louvre sheds its fortress skin and becomes a palace of Italian elegance. Art, poetry, and beauty are everywhere. But beauty is often just a mask for rot. Beneath the silk and the marble, religious hatred was boiling. August 24th, 1572, St. Bartholomew's Day. The bells rang out at midnight, but they weren't calling people to prayer. They were the signal for a slaughter. Thousands of people murdered in their beds. Neighbors killing neighbors. The Seine became so clogged with bodies that the water literally stopped flowing. Imagine the silence of a river that has turned to blood. It took a king like Henry IV to stitch the city back together. He built the Pont Neuf, the first bridge without houses, a bridge where you could actually see the river again. He tried to heal the wounds with stone and symmetry, but the scars remained. By the 1600s, Paris was a theatre of 500,000 souls, but a young boy king named Louis XIV was watching from the shadows of the palace. He saw the barricades. He saw the anger of the Parisian mob. He realized that to rule Paris, he had to leave it. He built Versailles as a golden cage, miles away from the city's unpredictable heartbeat. He thought he could ignore the pressure cooker. He was wrong. Louis XIV ran away, but the city stayed. It simmered. It remembered the fire of 52 BC. It remembered the Vikings. It remembered the plague carts and the blood in the Seine. Paris is a city built on layers of ghosts, and every time it dies, it comes back stronger, hungrier, and more dangerous. We've seen the city die 5 times tonight, but the greatest explosion, the one that would change the world forever, was still a century away. The fuse was lit, the people were starving, and the guillotine was just a whisper in a madman's dream. Are you still with me? Good. Because the shadows are only getting longer, and the next chapter? That is where the real blood begins. I'll see you in the next lecture, if you have the stomach for it.